My name is Jamie, and I work on a project called To Write Love on Her Arms. This is cool. I met a girl named Renee, and I met her 2 years ago, and when I met her, she was 19 years old, and her life was in a really difficult place. She had known a history of addiction, depression, self-injury. She had attempted suicide. I had the privilege, along with some friends, of spending 5 days with Renee after she was denied entry into a treatment center. And basically, halfway through that time, I asked her a really surprising question and really assumed that the answer would be no. And basically, I said, hey, what do you think about the possibility of telling your story? And like I said, I figured she would say, hey, get lost, no way. And it's a really vulnerable idea. And she surprised me and said some things that I'll never forget. She said she loved the possibility that maybe there could be a purpose for her pain, that maybe other people would relate to the things that she had lived with. Maybe other people would even find hope in her story. And so basically after that time, after 5 days, she entered a treatment center in Orlando, and I sat down and wrote this story. And it wasn't very long. It was a couple pages long, and kept coming back to this title that was a bit awkward. It was way too long to be a title. It looked more like the name of a Panic at the Disco song. And the title was To Write Love on Her Arms. And essentially it was a goal. It was the idea of believing something better for our friend's life. Believing something in the face of the lies that I think she had bought into. And so To Write Love on Her Arms was the name of this story. And then we realized that Renee's treatment was going to cost money, and that the money had to come from somewhere. And so we had this idea to print some T-shirts and to try to sell some T-shirts, really just in our community in Central Florida. We heard from people who said that the story that we were telling, that Renee's story was their story. We heard from people who had lost loved ones to suicide. And we heard from people who said they had thought about suicide. We heard from people who said that they were dealing with depression. And some people used that word. They said that was something they understood. That was something they were living with. We heard from people who wrote in on behalf of loved ones. People who said, you know, there's someone that I care about and I want to help them, but I don't know how. And there was other people who said, there's someone that I care about and I want to help them, but I don't think they want my help. We heard from some other people who were very honest in a different way. And they said, I don't know the first thing about these issues. I can't imagine why someone would take a razor blade and cut their arm as a way of dealing with pain. I can't relate to that. I can't relate to why someone would want to take their life. But maybe it's time that I learned. We've learned a ton in basically hundreds and hundreds of conversations over the last couple of years, emails, messages that have come in. We've heard from young people now in 40 different countries, and we've learned that these are not American issues. These are not white issues or emo issues. These are issues that affect people. These are issues of humanity. Not everyone that we hear from deals with these issues. Not everyone in this room deals with these issues, but we have a sense, we have a hunch that maybe everyone in this room can relate to pain. For us in this room, suicide is the third leading cause of death, and maybe the most startling number is this idea that 2 out of 3 people who deal with depression, they don't get help. They walk through it alone. I think it just points back to the stigma that surrounds these issues, to the sense of shame, to the sense of confusion. And it's been a privilege to say to that we believe so much of that is built on lies. We believe that depression is something that is tremendously treatable. We have come across this word that we think is really fantastic, and it's the word community. And we think it's the idea that people were not meant to do life alone. That you and me as human beings, that we actually need other people. That we need other people to walk alongside and play parts in our story. That maybe you need the person who's standing next to you. Everything that we're doing has grown out of a story. Something really simple, something really humble, an attempt to help one person and really tell someone's story. Maybe the most fascinating possibility is just this idea that maybe we're more loved than we'll ever know. Maybe we're part of a bigger story, that we're part of a redemption story and a love story. And would you guys agree?